Hey, gang. Sorry for the messy hair. I was talking to Candice earlier and she was putting her hair in braids. That's what I should learn to do is braid my own hair. And I'm going to add Candice here in just a second, but a couple of announcements I want to make before we get started. Um, some of you may have noticed, those of you that are avid watchers of my Terror Time tea, that I had it originally scheduled for 11:45. Then I pushed it to 12:15. Then I said, forget it. I ain't getting it done this early in the day. So now it is set for 3:30. I thought me and Candace could be on here for a couple of hours talking about movies. And then I could take a couple of deep breaths and then get ready for Terror Time tea. I have made my crumpets. They didn't turn out too bad. And I'm going to be putting honey on one and grape jelly on the other. I'm not a big jam person. I was telling Candace this last night, I think, because I don't like seeds. So, that's why I don't like jam. I don't like crunching into seeds. But if you like jam, then by all means, if you make these crumpets, put jam on those suckers. But you can also put syrup, you can put honey, you can put jelly or jam, um, and butter too is something else that you can put on them. Batman, you want to know, did me and Chris find a Jaws reference in Bloody Birthday? No, I don't think we managed to get a Jaws reference in there. But Uncle Bill didn't believe me that Michael Dudikoff was in there in the movie, but he is. He plays oh gosh, I'm forgetting Julie Brown's name. But anyway, he plays Julie Brown's boyfriend in the movie. He plays Willard. I made you mad, Wes, rescheduling Terror Time tea. Oh yeah, right. I'm sure I did. You can't keep dragging us around like that. 11:45, then 12:15, now 3:30. Do you think we ain't got nothing else to do? Gall. Well, I know everybody's busy. I took the day off and still like time got away from me, and Candace said time got away from her too. So uh things don't ever turn out the way that we had originally planned. But I also wanted to remind everybody, no watch alongs this weekend, no movie munchies. So this Friday Foolish show and the Terror Time tea will be my last hurrah for the week unless I get a wild hair. And I'm going to try not to get a wild hair and want to do something unless it's working on stuff for the shop or whatever. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and add Candace on here.
Hey, Dana. How are you doing today?
Wiped out already, but excited about the show. So I guess you can be both ways with it. So, and I am, traditionally I always have my lunch. Usually it's something from McAllister's. So I've got chili and lemonade. So if y'all don't mind me partaking of that during the stream,
that sounds good.
And Steve's got a grilled chicken Caesar wrap and potato salad. He's eating that.
Sounds good.
And I have closed this sliding door here between us and the kitchen and living room just to give Steve a little peace and quiet. Oh, Batman, good save there. He says Sheriff Brody, and at the end where Timmy and Joyce were hiding in Julie Brown's room, the music sounded like the Jaws theme. So there we got some Jaws references too. That movie's just loaded with references. That is cool. I just wasn't even thinking about that last night. I picked out all of them, but that one. But so I didn't get a chance to message Candace back. I was listening to her last message there before we came on, and I think we were starting at I started at the beginning of my collection, so I've got a lot of B's and a few C's in mine, and I think some of the ones that Candice was mentioning were later on in the alphabet, like the R's and W's, and so I think that's good. We didn't plan it that way, but it kind of worked out good that way. So anyway, we're going to be talking about cheesy 80s horror today, and this could be a multi-part show because I could have pulled a bunch off my shelf, but I stopped at 10 because I thought, you know, who's telling us we can't, this is me and Candace's show. We can do anything we want with it.
Yeah.
So we could wait a little bit. We could do another cheesy 80s horror and we could cover, a few more different films because there's no
Yeah.
shortage of cheesy 80s.
No, definitely not. I think that's something that we could definitely revisit a couple times, like the whole vinyl thing and
Yeah.
collecting thing. I'm sure we could go on and on and on about it.
Well, I can guarantee we'll be doing another vinyl collecting and just collecting in general show on down the line.
Yeah.
No, this is not spiked lemonade. This is just fresh squeezed lemonade. There's no spike into this. I did get some Fireball whiskey today.
Put a little bit of that in it, Dana.
I don't know if I should do that, but Steve, believe it or not, got him some booze. Like, it was like the hard seltzer stuff, and I don't like that hard seltzer.
Well, I can't drink anyway now because of my stomach issues, but because there was nothing like that around that I was aware of back whenever I could, partake.
No, I think this hard seltzer stuff is kind of new, but
Yeah, so I've never tried it. It just doesn't sound good to me.
it isn't good to me because it has that kind of salty, fizzy taste,
Like a seltzer taste.
Alka-Seltzer, and I hate Alka-Seltzer. I can't stand those things. Well, she said, "Good Lord, let's hope Steve drinks more. He's nicer when he's drunk." Well, we don't want Steve to be drunk. I think he just got a little bit to relax himself. And Steve's not a mean person. I don't want anybody to get that idea. It's just everybody that's in a marriage or in a relationship gets a little peeved at their significant other. I mean,
Yeah.
can't tell me if somebody tells you they never have a disagreement with their significant other. I think they're lying because
Or they found the ticket to happiness.
my parents are two of the best people in the world, and they have a rock solid marriage.
Yeah,
But I ain't even gonna lie to you and tell you that they've never had fights and disagreements. I mean, especially when they first got married, they were just kids when they first got married, right out of high school. And mom admits now, she says, I was immature and I, would get, all bent out of shape over little things. Like one time, I got to tell this story real quick. Dad, he was so proud of himself. He went out and he got a Christmas tree, cut down a Christmas tree himself out of the woods, and he thought mom would be so happy. Nope. Mom was pissed off because he didn't take her with him.
Uh-oh.
Did it, and she got mad, and that may have been the time she broke all his arrows.
Oh my goodness.
One time she got so mad at him over something. She had a towel in her hand, and he was standing in the doorway outside, and she was inside, and she went like this and flicked it at him, and it hung in the door, and Dad started laughing, and that made her even more mad.
Yeah, I say it did.
And she tore up his girly magazines, as she calls them. One time, she broke his arrows. Yeah, so we've all done immature things and gotten into arguments with our spouse or our boyfriend, girlfriend. Hey, Blissful.
Hey.
So anyway, with that all out of the way, I think Wes just likes to yank my chain. He likes to yank Steve's chain. But we're going to go ahead and get started with these movies. Candice, did you want me to start
Yeah,
off? You want to start off?
I'm gonna let you kind of take the lead on this one, Dana. I mean, there's a few that I have in mind to talk about. To be honest with you, I probably should have prepared a little bit better, but um,
Well, sometimes I'm late about getting out, exactly what the theme's going to be. So I'll take responsibility.
yeah. So I'll let you take the lead. I told you the movies kind of that I wanted to talk
Mhm,
about, and
you
if we
did.
get around to them, that'd be all right.
So I just pulled these off in alphabetical order and just pulled the first 10 that I thought were what I consider cheesy horror. Now, some of you guys out there, guys and gals, might say, well, that's not cheesy horror, or I don't think that's cheesy horror, but it's all in the eye of the beholder. And
Exactly, because I was talking about it to Chris last night whenever I was trying to think about what I wanted to talk about and stuff, and I would say movies. He's like, "That's not a cheesy horror," but to me it is. And he's like, "That's not," because I said they live, and he said, "That's not a cheesy horror. That's a rock solid
I
horror." I was like,
don't know,
"Yeah, but
it's
it's
cheesy
cheesy,
elements
you
like
know."
when Roddy Piper and uh,
I
Keith
forgot it.
David are,
Keith
are
David.
are like beating the shit out of each other. Sorry for my language, beating the crap out of each other, because Roddy Piper's wanting to put on the glasses. Put on
Yeah,
the glasses, and
yeah. He's trying. That's
I mean,
cheesy, right?
yeah,
And
there's
then
some
the
cheesy elements.
sayings are cheesy, about bubble gum
Yeah,
and
I came here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum.
yeah,
It's fun, but at the same time, it's cheesy too.
yeah. Chris thinks it's serious
He
business,
said they live in serious business.
and it is. It's one of my favorite horror films,
I love it.
but it's cheesy. It's not like cheesy to me has elements of stuff that is just, it's like the funny sayings and the funny, like you said, like brought up the fight scene. It's cheesy. It's a cheesy thing. It's funny. And when we say cheesy, that's in a good way.
Yeah,
I love cheese.
because I wouldn't own these movies if I didn't like them. Yeah,
That's what I like about horror. That was one of the things that kind of, drew me in, was cheesy B films.
yeah.
But not even B films. I mean, They Live isn't it's not a B film, but
No,
it's still cheesy, you know what I mean?
but
It's,
if you want to talk about, let's say, a John Carpenter movie that's not cheesy, other than Halloween,
yeah,
Prince of Darkness. Now that's
mhm,
a serious movie.
yeah,
That's not a cheesy one,
yeah.
in my opinion. But Alyssa says, "Where's her lemonade?" Maybe Spike. Dana has a potty mouth today. Well, you ought to heard me earlier when I hit my head on the cabinet door. That I was saying naughty, naughty words, and I.
It's just been a rough day already for me and Dana, I think. We've been running around like chickens with our heads cut off.
Yeah, that's the way I am about 90% of the time anymore. Um, no, I'm probably gonna have me a drink later because I'm not working today, so I might partake of a little bit of whiskey later. Something I saw today, though, speaking of whiskey, when I was in the liquor store, the wine and spirit store that Kroger has,
Yeah.
um, Kentucky coffee whiskey.
Ooh,
I saw that today, and I almost got a little bottle of it to try it, but then I thought, well, I'll wait till next time.
and it's coffee flavored?
Evidently,
I
yeah.
don't know if I'd like that or not.
Yeah, that's what I didn't know. That's why I was gonna get a little, like, the airplane bottle of it.
Yeah, that sounds like something that was made for the Kentucky businessmen. Put their morning coffee.
Yeah, let me put a little whiskey in that coffee there to get me through the day.
I don't we got something one time, I can't remember what it's called. I think it started with a K. When we was in New Orleans, it came in a jug. It looked like a little like a moonshine jug or something like that. And it was like a coffee-based liquor.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about, and I'm trying to remember the name of that. It
It
does
wasn't that
begin with
bad.
a K.
Yeah, like cup. I forget what it's called. I'd sit here all day trying to think of it, but it was not that bad. but it had like a chocolate coffee taste to it. Mississippi Mud, that's what it's called. So maybe I'm
Oh,
thinking of something else that starts with a K, but
I used to
Missis
drink mudslides. I used to love mudslides.
yeah,
I
that's like
got
a chocolate-based liquor, isn't it? Like a drink, mixed drink.
yeah. My friend Tammy that I used to work with at my first library job, she's the one that kind of turned me on to those mudslides because I was having a really bad time at one time.
Yeah.
And she said, Dana, here's what we're going to do. She said, I'm going to take you to my house. She was living in Owensboro at the time, which was 30 minutes from my little hometown. But
Yeah.
anyway, she took me to her house. We watched us some Robert Downey Jr. and Iron Man, and we were in heaven. We drank mudslides, and she didn't smoke very much, but when she drank, she smoked.
Mhm.
Which I know some people say that's a dirty, filthy habit, but my mom smokes too, and my dad smoked for years. And I'm not going to get on my soapbox about smoking. And my parents, my mom, she still smokes. Dad quit
Yeah.
years ago. He just wadded up the pack of cigarettes, said, I'm done. Never went back to them
That's a
again.
hard thing to do.
And mom, she's tried numerous times to quit and never been able to quit. But
Yeah.
my mom is always respectful of people. She doesn't get real close to people, blow smoke in their face.
Yeah.
She tries not to smoke in close quarters around people's children. She doesn't ride in other people's cars and smoke or anything
Yeah.
like that. But people still treat her badly if they see her light up.
They will, yeah. My grandma
They go
was a
around doing this.
yeah. My grandma was a lifelong smoker, and she got to where she couldn't breathe anymore, so she just all of a sudden quit, but it took her so long to do it. So when she did quit, it was, like, really, um, surprising to us, but it was a life or death situation. But we would go out and she would light up and people would do that. I'd get mad even though I didn't like her lighting up in front of me either. Because it would smother me. Because she was one of those people who would blow it in your face, you know? She didn't care. Like, I
God
remember
bless our grandparents, I tell you.
I would turn green in the car. We'd go be driving. I get motion sickness anyway. So I'd be back in the back seat of the car and we go around all these curvy hills and stuff like that. She'd be smoking. It'd be coming back in. And I'd be like, oh, I'd be green. I would be green. I was like, oh, I can't do this no more.
Wes, I did not know that about you. I thought that Uncle Bill used to smoke. But I did not know that Wes used to smoke. He said he used to smoke. He was disrespectful. He'd smoke in people's cars and just walk by people and blow smoke in people's faces to be mean. Did you really, or you just like saying that?
Now I will tell you this, I would have like the occasional like grape cigar or the flavored cigar.
Mm.
I always enjoyed that. I've not done it in a really long time, but I always did pack those around because I'd have one just occasionally. It wasn't something that I did every day or anything like that. I just like craved that taste of a cigar, and I like the grape ones. But
That actually sounds pretty good. That
it,
flavor.
I have breathing problems, like whenever it comes to smoke and stuff like that. I don't know if it's just allergies that makes it worse or something. So I said, I better stop doing that. But I enjoyed it when I did it.
But anyway, y'all can keep talking about smoking and drinking and whatever. But if I don't get to these movies, we're gonna like run out of time. But I want y'all to talk about whatever you want in there. And Chris did say you're thinking of Kahula,
Kahula, yeah.
Kahlua, or how you
Kalu
pronounce
Ka
that.
Ka Kalula, I think's how it's
It's
pronounced.
like Cthulhu or something. Like you're trying to say Cthulhu.
Yeah,
Um, oh, Wes said not cigarettes. This was blunts. Okay, okay.
a different kind of smoke.
But I did think that I saw an old video. I don't know how many of y'all have seen that old Christmas video of it was like I don't know if it was Christmas Eve or Christmas night or what, but CK and Uncle Bill were like opening Christmas presents and stuff, and there's a shot of Uncle Bill standing out on the porch at CK's house, and he's obviously smoking a cigarette, but I don't think Uncle Bill smoked for years. He hasn't smoked any time that I've known him. So Blissful went through a cigar and brandy phase. A lot of people drink and smoke. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just oh, Wes says it's still on the Dead Pit page if you search well enough at Dead Pit Radio on YouTube, boss. See, I'm promoting you guys. Look, go watch that Christmas archive Dead Pit video. It's hilarious. But anyway, I'm going to get to this first movie, which is Basket Case.
I have that one too. It's the first one I have. Mine's
So
a little different than yours.
I have that version too,
Mhm.
and it's signed by Frank Henenlotter.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because I met Frank Henenlotter several years ago at Cinema Wasteland. I think it was one of the Cinema
Yeah.
Wastelands me and Steve went to. Hey, Darren. I'm glad to see you in here. I know Darren and Dirk, they're both busy men. But I'm glad that Darren stopped in. But Basket Case, I love this movie, but is it cheesy? Yes.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. And
Very.
I'm convinced that Frank Henenlotter was not trying to make a serious film when he made Basket Case. How can you take a movie seriously that has a Siamese twin brother? And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, conjoined twin brother.
And he was like a parasitic too, right?
I mean, they
I
had
think so.
a telepathic link to each
Yeah.
other too. But But, how can you take a movie seriously that has the conjoined twin of this one guy, and he's in a basket, literally in a basket,
That he packs around.
and there's a running joke. I call it a running joke throughout the movie. Every time somebody meets Dwayne,
Mhm.
they ask what's in the basket, and he
Yeah.
always has a different answer. It's clothes or
Yeah.
food or whatever. He's not going to tell them, oh, it's my conjoined twin brother Bilal. He's not going to tell them that. But there is one scene where he gets drunk at this club or whatever with Casey, another lady that lives in the Hotel Broslin. I'm guessing she's a hooker.
Yeah.
The first time he sees her, she's getting ready to go into her room with a man, and she winks at him, and he gets all, flustered and stuff, and then she goes in there with the guy. But they end up getting drunk at this club, and she leans over to him, and she's obviously inebriated, and she says, I gotta ask you, what's in the basket? And he says, my brother. And then they die off laughing. But you're like, as the viewer of this movie, you're like,
Yeah.
it's his
Like
brother.
she thinks he's joking, but he's 100% serious.
Chris says Casey is 100%.
Yeah, she is.
But but I love Beverly Bonner in that role as Casey. And there's a couple of bizarre, how shall I say it, sexually, not explicit necessarily, but sex related scenes concerning Bilal and two women in the film. One is with Beverly Bonner. He's basically filling Casey up, and she wakes up and she doesn't really know what she's seen, but she's screaming and running around, and something was in my room. It was messing with my nightshirt or whatever. Steve, you need anything?
Can you come here? Zoe's breathing weird. Sorry.
Okay, guys and gals, I'm going to go check on one of the dogs. Candice, if you can take the reins for just 1 second, I'll be right back.
All right. So she's left me alone again. So, while she's gone, let's see. So, what are some of your all's favorite cheesy 80s films? They don't necessarily have to be horror, just cheesy 80s films. just off the top of my head, I could think of a few. I think Steve took off today. I think that's why he's home. But Earth Girls Are Easy. I think Chris was talking about that one last night. I don't know why I like that one so much, but it's probably one of my favorite movies, probably in my top 20 favorite movies of all time. And that was definitely cheesy. I mean, you got Jim Carrey and Jeff Goldblum, and I love Jeff Goldblum. So to me, and some people can say, well, Candace, you're crazy. That's one of Jeff Goldblum's best movies. But you got The Fly and you got Jurassic Park. If you're Dana is unprofessional. Yeah, it is a fun movie. And Damon Wayans, I love Damon Wayans, the Wayans brothers, and all that.
What's this about me
stuff.
being unprofessional? I had to check on my dog.
I'd asked them what their favorite 80s cheesy movie. It didn't necessarily have to be horror or anything like that. Is your dog okay though, Dana?
Yeah, you know how sometimes the dog, it could be allergies or anxiety or
Oh
something,
yeah.
but they do that shh, shh, shh,
Oh
kind
yeah.
of
Nico
noise.
does that. Yeah.
I told Steve, I said, all dogs do that at some point. I said, just rub her back and get her as calm as
Yeah. Yeah. No, Miko does that sometimes. He like any kind of smoke, even like from candles, like when you blow out a candle or something like that, he does that. But if he's around like cigarette smoke or something, let's try not to get him around it. My brother smokes, and
Mhm.
he'll start doing that. I think it bothers him. But I was talking about Earth Girls Are Easy.
Oh, yeah, I love that movie.
It's one of my favorite movies, probably in my top 20. And I told him, I said, a lot of people might disagree, but I think it's one of Jeff Goldblum's best films.
But to
I don't know.
answer Wes, I thought I had the 4K of Basket Case. Let me go look here. I just grabbed the one off here.
I have the DVD. I don't know what other ones Chris has. He probably has other versions of it too. Something weird video is what I have of it.
Maybe not. Maybe I need to look into getting that one, Wes. I could have sworn I had that one, but whatever.
Troll 2 is probably the cheesiest movie ever.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Because this one, I guess I just saw that. That's going to bother me now. Doesn't that just bother you when you think you own something and then you go to look and it's like, no, you don't own that. So did you want to say anything? I don't want to keep you from saying
No,
anything.
go ahead, Dana. Go ahead and continue what you were talking about.
So the other scene that's of a sexual nature is later on in the film, pretty much near the end of the film. Dwayne gets a girlfriend who's a receptionist at a doctor's office, and I affectionately call her Wig Woman because it's obvious that she has a wig on. And I found out the reason why she has this obvious wig on is because that girl was in a punk band and she had shaved all her hair off.
Yeah.
And so for this role, I guess Frank Lauder said, can you wear a wig, Because I guess it would have been a little weird even in New York City if
Yeah.
he had went into a doctor's office. There's this bald woman sitting there as a receptionist. Yes, you are right, Chris. When Dwayne is
forgot
running
about that.
food through New York, that's pretty sexual. And that is, it goes back and forth between Bilal, and I'm sorry to be so crude, but literally he is mounting this woman as she sleeps.
Yeah, that scene is pretty.
And
I don't know. It's disturbing to me.
it is quite disturbing because it's interspersed with scenes of Dwayne having a dream because him and Bilal are telepathically linked.
Yeah.
He's having a dream about running naked through, and I'm telling you, Kevin Van Hentrick, or however you pronounce his name, that plays Dwayne, he must have been one of the bravest men alive because he literally was running down back streets of New York City naked as the day he was born. You see everything.
You
I
think
mean,
that he's really like running through the city, or do they have him like with a
I think
green?
Frank Henenlotter said he was actually running through
They
the
had to
city.
take it and like they had to take it like probably block off a block or something like that to let him run down. I
I
would
mean,
hope at least.
I think they both said, him and Kevin Van Hendricks said it's a thousand wonders they didn't get in trouble. You know,
And
the
he's pretty
cops were
nice
like,
too. Yeah, you're right. He thousand
seeing a naked
wonders.
man. It's New York City, but hey,
Hey,
seeing a naked man running down the street.
I don't know. It's probably something that if you live there, you probably have seen once or twice. I've seen it here where I'm from.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it one time. Me and my grandma and grandpa were going up the road, and there's a Applebee's, and right down the highway, this man just was streaking buck naked with his tennis shoes on,
Well,
running.
I did not see this guy, but down near the library, the main library here in Louisville, there was a naked guy, evidently a few years back, running around with a sword.
Oh my gosh!
So I mean, I didn't want to be, where this guy was, because evidently he was running around brandishing a
Oh
sword
my
and naked.
gosh!
Um,
Could you,
anything's possible in Louisville. I mean,
I don't think I'd want to be naked and be a man and throwing around a sword. Would you?
no. So he either had to be drunk, on drugs, or unfortunately mentally ill, or maybe all of the above. I don't know. Um, the naked samurai. That's
Oh
right.
my gosh!
Um, Chris does say that apparently that was filmed at like 4 a.m. So maybe they were just hoping nobody would see that. Uh, okay, it literally came out, Wes. Okay, I'm a busy woman, I can't keep up on all these releases. That's why I depend on other people to tell me when something. Uh, no, I didn't get it in the last week. I did not. So I must have been thinking about this that I got from Arrow, which is the Blu-ray. Um, TJ, hey TJ, he says he has nothing to be ashamed of. Evidently not. There's no way, if I was a guy, there's no way I could have done that. I couldn't do that as a woman, run full frontal naked, even if it was making a movie. There's no way. Um, Chris says, nah, the filming of Basket Case was all gung ho filmmaking. There was no license or anything they obtained. Henenlotter just pretty much did what he wanted to. Yeah, I get that. I mean, Frank Henenlotter is a very nice guy. You would kind of
Yeah.
think that he would be rough around the edges, being
Mhm.
from the New York area and all that stuff. But he was very nice, soft
Yeah.
spoken, gentlemanly when I met him, not at all like, some hard nosed
Yeah.
New York guys and
Yeah.
gals.
He was really nice when we met him. And I have him on Facebook too. He's commented on a few things of mine. Always really nice and stuff.
So anyway, the film is, I cannot take this film seriously. Like I said, I don't think Frank Henenlotter
Yeah, I don't think it's meant
made
to
it to
be.
be taken seriously. I think he wanted people to have fun with it.
Yeah.
Now, there are some filmmakers that think they're making a serious.
Yeah, definitely.
For example, the great disaster artist Tommy Wiseau. If anybody has ever seen The Room, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Now, that
Oh Lord, yeah.
bad film, bad.
That guy thinks he was like the greatest actor of all time or something. I mean, really.
And he thinks he's the greatest director.
Yeah, and they even made like a movie about what was it? Franco, what's his name?
James Franco. Yeah,
James
it was
Franco,
called
yeah.
The Disaster Artist, I think.
I've never seen it, but I don't think I watched it.
Well, me and Steve introduced me to The Room.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, what am I watching here?
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen The Room. I've never seen the Disaster Artist though.
You need to see The Disaster Artist though, because it is so funny. But then me and Steve went to, I think, a midnight showing of The Room,
Oh my
where
God.
everybody, like every time they would mention spoons, like those spoons on the wall and stuff. Everybody would go, spoons, and they throw plastic spoons. I got plastic forks in my hair. I got one stuck right here, but it was just like it was almost like Rocky Horror Picture Show
Yeah.
because of the audience participation. But it was a lot of fun to go to that
Yeah.
midnight showing, and I think that the Mid City Mall here in Louisville in the Highlands area where they had this. At the movie theater there,
Yeah.
there was a store there, and I think everybody bought every plastic fork, spoon, knife that they had in that place. I think they sold out of them.
Yeah.
Chris says Tommy Wiseau is one of the most interesting people I've ever seen. His personality is out there. It definitely is out there.
Yeah, it is.
And
Hey, a cheesy movie. I think it's from the 80's. Cheesy movie that I tried to watch and I just couldn't. I couldn't even get 5-10 minutes in. Was Bad Taste. That was a movie that I tried to watch
oh,
it.
I
And I was
love
like,
Bad Taste, but the ceremonial vomiting scene, that probably gets to a lot of people. It kind of got to me because it's just, I mean, it's flat out gross.
I don't even think I got that far. I started watching. I was like, this is just, something.
So, but another one that Peter Jackson did was Meet the Feebles. You
I
want to
couldn't.
talk
I
about,
couldn't watch that one either.
you want to see like literally it's low grade Muppets. It's like if
Yeah.
the Muppets had STDs.
That's a good way to
I'm
put it.
serious. The Muppets had STDs. That's what this movie is. Because it's literally like, not X-rated, but very
It's
adult
bad.
stuff. Yeah. It's
Not
not
for
for your
kids.
no.
Not for kids
Never
at
let
all.
your kids watch Meet the Feebles unless you have to sit down and explain a
I
bunch.
remember whenever me and Chris had just moved in with each other, like he was wanting me to like watch Bad Taste and Meet the Feebles, and he got them out, and we started watching them, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is just not. this is
It's
Peter
not for
Jackson.
everybody.
I was like, is this Peter Jackson? I couldn't believe it because you're
Yeah.
used to Peter Jackson, and I'm like, I don't
The
know.
Peter Jackson now, the Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson, and you go back to this stuff. But see, that's the thing with me. I started out watching Bad Taste, Meet the Feebles, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I knew, like, Peter Jackson's wacky. He's a wacky dude, making this kind of stuff. And he was actually in Bad Taste. He was the guy that he ended up injuring himself, and his brain keeps falling out of his head, and he keeps like putting tape on and tying it up because every time he falls again or something, his brain pops out. He's just like, ooh, like that, and you don't know what he's doing. I mean, literally, that's what he looks like.
No, Dead Alive is a different story.
Dead Alive, yeah.
That's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. But and this is something Chris just can't believe. I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan. So
I'm not a big Lord of the Rings fan either.
I'm not saying it's bad. It's probably a masterful, series, but it's just not. I don't know. I never got into it.
I started out watching it like my cousin Jed brought maybe how many of them are there?
Are there 3 of them?
Okay, I think he brought the first 2,
Yeah.
and we watched it, and it was like, I don't mind a long movie, but it was just like, oh,
very
man,
long. That's my problem. It's not that it's bad. It's just really long because I love the cartoon, The Hobbit. Like when growing up, from like the 70s or whatever. But I don't know. It was too long for me. And I like Elijah Wood. I like anything he's in. And I was like, I don't know. I was hyped up for it when the first one came out, but I don't know. Maybe where I missed seeing it in the theater. Maybe I should have seen it in the theater, and maybe I had a different experience with it, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. No, Dead Alive. No, that's my cup of tea.
I love Dead Alive just because that thing is, excuse my language, but it's batshit crazy. There's blood flying everywhere.
The
Just,
baby. And I love, what's his name? Oh my gosh. What's the actor that,
oh shoot.
oh my God, that's going to kill me if I can't think of his name. I'll just
You're
second.
talking about the main guy, right?
Yes, I met him. Because I was in love with him. And I don't
Oh,
remember his
that's so
name.
sweet.
I'm going crazy.
Let's
Tim
see.
Baum plays Lionel.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But we seen him, I think it was at a Horror Hound. I think it was his first convention over here, or maybe his first convention of, all time. I don't know.
He is nice looking, though. I'm looking at
Timothy Baum, Lionel Cosgrove. He was like New Zealand's answer to like Ash. Don't you think?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's
With
perfect.
the lawnmower and, kind of takes place of like the chainsaw, and I don't know. I just love it. Oh, I love Rupert Everett. I love him in Cemetery Man. Delamore is one of my favorite films. One of my favorite.
I don't hate Cemetery
I
Man,
love
but
it.
I keep trying to get into it. And
I love it, Dana. I absolutely love it.
Mhm.
And I love Rupert Everett.
Yeah, Chris says, "Oh my God, TJ got something wrong because he thought that was Rupert Everett, and he said, oops, wrong movie."
Yeah, but I love Cemetery Man. I mean, that's from the 90s, though. Pretty sure.
I think so. Yeah.
But yeah, that's great.
Chris did say he said, "Bad Taste is a masterpiece. How dare you? I won't stand for this disrespect."
Because that's what he was telling me. So, oh, you're gonna love it. It's just not something I liked.
I agree that Bad Taste is not everybody's cup of tea. That is a niche movie. There's no doubt about it. I just love that wackiness in it, and I like Bad Taste better than I do Meet the Feebles. Meet the Feebles was almost a little bit too much.
Yeah, it's a little rough. It's a little rough to me. A little bit, like you said, a little bit too much.
Yeah. Somebody should have used a little more sandpaper on it.
I don't think Cemetery Man is overrated, Wes. I love it. I don't care if anybody else likes it. As long
I
as
don't
I
think
like
it's overrated. Goodness, what's he talking about?
I think it's great. I think it's but I will say this. It's like you say, it's like a niche movie. And I'm surprised it didn't make more than what it did. I think it's great. But, what am I to say? I like some weird stuff, so.
But Chris does say Lord of the Rings is the greatest trilogy to ever exist. Or no, okay. I gotta disagree with you on this, Chris. The greatest trilogy ever made is the Evil Dead trilogy, the original Evil Dead trilogy. Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness.
I'm a Indiana Jones. I love I love the Indiana Jones series. I don't know. Me and Chris, we get into arguments all the time.
Oh, Chris said, he said a bad thing. Madman is overrated.
No, I like Madman, though.
I enjoy Madman, but me and Wes go back and forth because I think The Burning's better. As a film, I think The Burning's better.
I don't know, Dana. I'd have to sit and think about it. I'm not a real big Burning fan.
Mm-hmm.
I like the old one, like the original. I like it over the Nicolas Cage.
I didn't even know there was a Nicolas Cage one.
There's not one with Nicolas Cage?
Well, maybe I just haven't heard of it.
Wicker Man is what I'm thinking about. Never mind.
Wicker.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Wicker Man. You're talking about the Burning. That's with the shears, right?
Yeah.
I'm totally different. Totally different.
Okay, I was like,
the Wicker Man I don't like. Like the original. Yeah, I confused myself. Then I started thinking, I thought, wait, hold on.
The Burning is not a piece of trash. And Crater's not a piece of trash.
And I'm not a big Burning fan either, the Burning fan either, but I don't dislike it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think I would like Madman over that.
I love Madman also, and believe it or not, I discovered Madman before I started listening to Dead Pit.
Oh, really?
Yep. Well, you can't take credit for that one. Because what happened with Madman was I was just looking at a book of movie reviews, as I like to do, because sometimes me and Steve watch trailer compilations,
Yeah.
and we'll find movies that we ain't seen or one of us hasn't seen. We think, ooh, that looks interesting. We'll try it out. So I was looking at a movie review book, and I came across this movie Madman, and it sounded like it was right up my alley, the type of slasher movie I like. And so I went to my local waxworks, and they said, we don't have it, but we can order it for you, and we'll let you know when it comes in. So that was my first introduction to Madman. Was I got it in, I took it home. I had to work an evening shift at the
Yeah.
library, but I watched a little bit of it before I actually went into work. And I like Madman. I don't dislike it at all.
Yeah.
But the burning, I don't know, burning's got a little something extra that I just enjoy a little bit more.
Now, if you put The Burning next to Wicker Man, I prefer The Burning. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm not a huge Wicker Man fan.
I tried to watch The Wicker Man because everybody and their mother was saying how great that movie was. And then I watched it and I'm like, what? Christopher Lee running around in a dress? I mean,
I
what?
think that's the only thing that saves it is Christopher Lee's in it. Have you seen the remake with
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage? That one's really out there, I think. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm just not a big fan. I used to have a shirt. I think Fright Rags put it out like a long time ago. It was like one of those shirts that you could get from Fright Rags. I'm pretty sure it was a Wicker Man shirt. Where you could get like a mystery shirt. And I think that's the one that they sent me. I'm pretty sure it was Fright Rags. It was
I
not one I
never
went and
got
bought
those
myself.
mystery shirts, but I know that I've seen where they've had them before. But
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was one of them.
oh God. TJ says Deadpit introduced me to the forest, but I still kept listening to them, huh? I have never been able to get to that dang movie.
I've
It's
never
back
seen
there
it.
on my shelf, and I fall asleep every time.
I've heard
So
some
what's
bad
that
things
say?
about it though.
Ah, man. Chris says I have a fascination with summer camp-based slashers.
And he's the one that showed me The Burning for the first time. I've seen it a few times, but I don't know. I'm like growing up, I loved Jason, the Friday 13th. But I'm not big on the camp. I'm not big on slashers. I mean, I
Right.
like slashers, and that was my real introduction to horror growing up. But I think it's just where I had watched them so many times that it just, I don't know. It takes something
Well,
different for me to like it. I'm into supernatural type stuff.
I have said this before, and I'll continue to say it. I know when I watched something like Friday the 13th movies too many times.
Yeah.
And it's at the point where I start to zone out and start looking at pictures on the wall, or I'm looking at my tablet or my phone
Yeah.
and not really looking at the movie. The movie is like background fodder. It's just there. And I'm like, all right, Dana, maybe you need to take a break from the Friday the 13th or the Halloweens or even Nightmare on Elm Street movies in some cases. You and Dirk are doing a retrospective on The Forest. Dana, this is one instance where you are 100% wrong. Okay, if I'm 100% wrong on this, you're 100% wrong on Terror on Tour. There, enough said. This movie is excellent and gets a bad rap from people who champion way worse films. I know, he's pointing the finger at me. Hey, but The Forest ain't fun. I'm sorry, Wes. It's
I've
not
never
fun.
seen it. I don't even know what it's about.
What would Robert England think if he heard you say that? You mean about me zoning out on Nightmare on Elm Street movies?
Now, listen, I could watch the Nightmare on Elm Street films and the Halloween films over and over and over, and I don't get tired of them. Those are different. But the Friday the 13th films, I've just seen them so many times, which I've seen Halloween and Nightmare on Elm Street too, so many
I
times.
usually
But
do it with the Friday the 13th. Those are the ones that I zone out bad.
those are Chris's favorites, I'm pretty sure. But well, I love Freddy Krueger, Chris. I mean,
We all love Freddy Krueger. We all love
I'm
Robert
not
Englund.
saying all slashers and stuff like that. Just like the ones that you've seen so many times. You know what I mean? That they
Mhm.
kind of get repetitive after a while.
Chris said, know what Candace said about not caring about slashers.
But I don't mean every one of them or anything like that. I don't. I'm more into the. You know what I'm into? Weird stuff, I guess.
Wes says, Candace, it's the only ghost slasher cannibal trifecta. I keep hearing that, and I'm like, why the heck do I keep falling asleep during this movie then?
I'm gonna have to watch it. I hear y'all talking about it all the
Through
time.
it, I fall asleep every time, but Chris says, I know, I'm just
I know you're just playing, kind
but
of.
but Candace, anytime you want to jump in there to tell me you want to jump in here, I'm going to go to the next movie in my stack here because it's already almost 2 o'clock. Boy, time flies.
Uh-uh.
Fun, no. So the next one, and I know I've talked about
Blood
this,
Donor.
I had a watch along with TJ and Chris for Blood Diner.
Mm.
This movie's great, guys. It's great. And pretty much Dead Pit did introduce me to this movie because this is a movie I remember seeing the VHS cover in my local video stores, but for whatever reason, I never picked it up and rented it. I don't know why, but I kept hearing, especially Uncle Bill talking about it. I don't know how many shows for Dead Pit he talked about this movie. I think probably I could be wrong, but I think Uncle Bill likes this movie more than CK does. Chris says Jackie Kong is a genius. Well, in this case, yeah, Jackie Kong, the director, is a genius.
Chris loves
Because
Blood Diner.
what was that, Candace?
I said Chris loves Blood Diner as
Oh
well.
yeah, that's probably why he wanted to be on that watch along.
I've never seen it. I couldn't talk to you about it. I don't.
Like I consider Blood Diner to be an upgraded, slightly better version of Blood Feast. Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Feast, which is also a cheesy film, but it's not from the 80s, but it's cheesy film. But Blood Diner concerns the Namtut brothers. There's two brothers. Their last name is Namtut. And what other movie do you have these? And I call them bimbos with great respect, to use Joe Bob's term. Where do you see bimbos getting deep fried and their heads exploding? Where else can you see that but Blood Diner?
I've heard about that. Chris it's one of those movies that are on a list for me to watch, but I've just never got around to watching it. He's like, you got to watch it, Candace. And y'all did that watch along. He's like, you still not watched that movie. I need to watch it. It's not that I don't want to. It sounds great. I remember Dead Pit, they used to talk about it all the time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And where else can you see a guy? And I'm not saying he gets run over once or twice. It looks like he gets run over 100 times by one of the brothers who is just having a hell of a good time. He just keeps rolling the vehicle over this guy. Then he backs over him. Then he goes forward again.
Does he turn out looking like that guy from Beetlejuice with no mirrors on the side? You know who I'm talking about? The guy that's been ran over, and he's like,
yeah, I don't know if it's quite like that, but I mean, it's hilarious. And so the Namtut brothers, it starts out when they're little boys, and they're into food. They're actually making little pieces of food out of their Play-Doh. And their mother has to go to work or something, so she's saying, "You be good boys," and. So after their mother leaves, their Uncle Anwar, crazy Uncle Anwar, comes busting in, and the cops kill him because Uncle Anwar has been killing ladies and trying to bring about Sheetar, some goddess that he's, wanting an Egyptian goddess or something
Yeah.
that he's wanting to bring back to life.
Reincarnate.
So they got to sacrifice virgins, and I guess he's getting it wrong. When the boys kill those bimbos, they're definitely not virgins. Um, but so Uncle Anwar, I guess I don't know if he had told the boys, if something ever happens to me, this is what I want you to do. But the brothers go and dig up Uncle Anwar when they're older, and Uncle Anwar for the rest of the movie is a brain and eyeballs in a jar, fussing at the two brothers all the time and calling them idiots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But he wants them to open this diner, hence the blood diner, and look for a virgin that they can sacrifice to bring about the rise of Sheetar. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what this movie's about. But this movie is just so off the wall crazy. It came out in 1987, so it's
Mhm.
late 80s, but it's like the epitome of 80s.
Yes, it sounds great, Dana. Me and Chris started watching it one time when we first started dating, but we were getting ready to go out, I think, to the movies or something, and, I remember watching the first maybe 15 minutes of it, and, I've just we never got around to watching it again. I need to watch it though because I mean, for as long as I've known Chris, I've known that about that movie, so it's taken me a while to get around to it, but I'm sure that you have movies that you've never got around to.
Oh, yeah, I do. I still yet I do. Yes, and where else can you have little Jimmy Hitler wrestling? I kid you not. There's a whole lot of wrestling in this as well because one of the brothers just loves to watch wrestling all day. And there's a wrestler called Little Jimmy Hitler.
Oh my gosh.
So this is not PC in any way,
Yeah.
shape, or form, but it came out in 1987.
Yeah. Something that
Uh,
would probably be made today.
it says Little Jimmy Hitler wins Money in the Bank next month. Um, Yes, Chris, good point. He says, where else can you see people dressed as Nazis at a dance club playing saxophones?
Oh my gosh.
That's literally in the film as well.
Is it just Nazis everywhere in this movie?
Well, I mean, thankfully, no. But, when they do show up, it's funny. If you can consider, Nazis funny anyway. Not real, not real Nazis are not funny.
No.
All. White supremacists are not funny.
They're funny in like the Hogan's Heroes type of way.
TJ said he looked up the Blood Feast German wrestler guy, and he's an anti-vax Trumper. Guess the character wasn't acting.
My
Oh, you
goodness.
said Blood Diner. Sorry, I'm tired. I know how you feel, TJ.
Yeah.
I know how you feel. So yeah, that's about all I can say about Blood Diner, other than if you've never seen this movie, please, try to find a free copy of it, but you're guaranteed a good time with this one. Um, I'm sure Jackie Kong wasn't trying to make a serious movie with this one either. There's no way she could have been wanting to make a serious movie. It's just pretty much a play on Blood Feast, which Blood Feast wasn't to be taken seriously either. I don't think Herschel Gordon Lewis expected any of his movies. He wanted them to turn a profit at the drive-in, but that's what Herschel Gordon Lewis's movies were made for. They were made
Yeah.
for drive-in theaters. And another thing this has got going for it, first they greet you, then they eat you. That's a great tagline for this movie. You sure you don't want to jump in there yet,
I
Candace?
mean, unless you want to talk about maybe the stuff or something like that.
Yeah, let's talk about the stuff.
I think I have a DVD of it. I think Chris gave me the DVD.
I think I have. Let me go grab mine. I think I have a boyfriend.
Yeah, I just bought the DVD of the stuff.
You can go ahead and start talking about it, Candace, if you want to.
I love the stuff. It's one of those films that is just, I don't know. It's talk about cheese. It's on the top list of cheesy horror, definitely for sure. I mean, it starts out with this guy, this old man, literally eating unknown substance from the ground that's bubbling up out of this snow. Um, and he thinks it tastes good. So I mean, that right there is crazy in itself. Um, and I don't know. I mean, we all like that marshmallow fluff kind of stuff. That's what I think of whenever I see the
Yeah.
stuff. Don't you, Dana, like that marshmallow?
Yeah. There's
Yeah.
my copy, by the way.
Chris gave me his just
I
a regular.
like that. I actually like that better than I do this.
Oh, really?
To be honest, yeah.
He may have that one that you have. He just gave me all the DVD ones.
Which this is another take on the artwork.
But I don't know. One of my favorite characters is chocolate chip Charlie. And I mean, when those people start turning into those things after they, because as the film goes on, they start out eating the stuff and they have food in their fridge and stuff, but as it's going on and on, all that's getting replaced with just the stuff.
Yeah,
So
and it actually starts oozing out in their refrigerator.
Yeah. And like, it's crazy because when these people start chasing after them, like Chocolate Chip Charlie and the other guy, I forget his name.
You're probably talking about Michael Moriarty.
Yeah,
that's the actor's name.
Well, when they're getting chased by these people that have been taken over, they're like running to like a boat that's out in a lake, and they're hitting these people, and their faces are caving in, and they just go to the diner like it ain't nothing. Like, no, those people's faces just didn't cave in. We're gonna go get something to eat.
Right.
Which, they know what's going on, but it's crazy, I think.
Yeah, the stuff is like, it's crazy, but it's so much fun, and
It is.
I love it so much that I'll show off my little stuff containers that
I love that, Dana.
And Chris inspired me because I was showing this last night. He inspired me to do a stuffed candle.
You should.
And have it vanilla scented.
Vanilla, yeah.
Like, I could put these stickers on them.
Yeah, you could. I'm telling you. I would buy one. I would love that.
Because these are just homemade ones that I made, and I printed off the stuffed stickers and just put them on these styrofoam ice cream containers. And you could make your own. It doesn't, it doesn't take much time to make them. And there's another one that I made too that this was clear plastic. I got it from a fast food place to put my soup or whatever in that I'd gotten. And I just painted it white and then put the sticker for the
I like that.
I don't have one for the top, but I've got one for the side there.
But I tell you, as much as I like that marshmallow fluff, this movie will make you turn against it.
Well, I made the Homicidal Homemaker. If you go to homicidalhomemaker.com, she has all kinds of horror themed recipes.
Yeah.
And she did one for the stuff, but it was a marshmallow cheesecake. That stuff is delicious. That's what I actually made to put in those containers.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
No, but I love the stuff. That's a fun film. It's one that, it's not to be taken seriously either, but TJ's right, about having a message, about consumerism and kind of like the They Live type thing, which is great. But it's one of those films that you really aren't going in there, so this is going to be a serious film. But I just love it. I think that what's his name? Garrett Morris. Is that Chocolate Chip Charlie?
Yeah. And he was also on Saturday Night Live at one time.
I think he's kind of portraying like a famous Amos
I
you know,
think so too.
remember Famous Amos
Yeah.
kind of persona, and it's just like I don't know, it's fun. I mean, um, just as it starts out, like I said, that old guy goes and just starts eating that stuff without even knowing what it
And
is.
the dog, remember the dog scene, Candace, where the
Yeah,
guy's afraid of his own dog, and like
yeah,
I think it's when Michael Moriarty goes over there and is talking to him, and Michael Moriarty's character is Mo, just
mhm,
like Mo with the Three Stooges. It's
yeah,
MOE. And he's like, I think he even asked that guy. He says, "You seem like you're afraid of your dog. What's going
yeah.
on there?" Like
Like
his dog.
chases him under the table. It's like a Doberman Pinscher or something like that.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, but I love it, and I love the special effects, like because it's clearly, not great. And when their like mouths open up, and it's like looks like a puppet. But I tell you what's so funny about it is the end. Whenever they get trapped in that is it like a recording studio or something?
Yeah, isn't
And
that
they're
where it's going up the wall and all
yeah,
that
yeah,
and
they got like those padded walls, like the soundproof,
stuff?
and he that guy jumps in there. I forget the character's name. I forget the actor's name, but you know who I'm talking about, like the main guy. He jumps in there and there's like a green screen. They've like green screened him into there. And it just looks so weird.
I
But I
think
love
that's
it.
Michael Moriarty. I think that's
Yeah, yeah.
Mo. Um, but I gotta answer Wes too. He said that's a good idea, Dana. I wonder if I could just buy the generic candles at Dollar Tree and print out the labels. They got to be homemade candles. None
It'll
of
be
that.
homemade by Dana.
And I got to give Chris credit where credit is due because he's the one that suggested I do a stuffed candle and make it vanilla flavor. And Blissful says vanilla cupcake fragrance. I know I've got some
That would be
cupcake
good.
fragrance essential oils somewhere, which is what
Even marshmallow, because it's like marshmallow.
hmm
But I know you're doing the
yeah,
Freddy.
the Freddy's Nightmare one is
Yeah.
going to be marshmallow because I know that's so mean, but like we're talking about a reprehensible character.
You could always do like a hot dog scented for
Blissful wanted me to make a bacon flavored candle. If I could get these scents
yeah.
put in the candle, by golly, I'd do it.
I have smelled candles that were bacon jam
Ah,
scented. It's like a caramel bacon smell. It was really good.
I need to see if they've got essential oils because that's what I use to make the scents.
Mhm.
I'm going to look into other options because I've got, like floral scents and food
Yeah.
scents and things like that. But, and even I've got like, some people probably say, ew, tobacco, but I've got like tobacco and leather, and those are like the men scents. There's a
Yeah.
set of women's scents, and then there's a set of men's scents too. Um, Blissful says if you do, I need to order one. Well, I'll let you know if I can find a bacon scent to put on there.
Dana, you could do a Motel Hell
Yes, that
bacon scent, like a bacon caramel scent or something like that.
would,
That would work, wouldn't it?
yeah,
Like well, not beef jerky, but he's got the pig head and stuff like that. So
exactly. And I could have on the label, it takes all kinds of critters to make Farmer Vincent's fritters on there.
that would be great. Take like the
Whiskey and
logo.
tobacco. Yeah. Whiskey and tobacco. Yeah, Blissful, I think I may have whiskey and tobacco or whiskey and tobacco separately. Dollar Tree probably has different scents, but I'm not above buying stuff at Dollar Tree. But come on, if I'm going to ask somebody to pay what I'm going to ask for these candles, I want them to be,
Yeah.
quality stuff. But um, Chris says, I don't often want to see remakes of horror films, but I feel like a modern version of The Stuff would be great and it could be portrayed more as a comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that too. Oh, Lord. Wes says, Pithead candles coming soon. Hey, quit taking my ideas now.
What's dead pit smell like?
I don't know if I want to know.
What's the candles gonna
What
smell
does
like?
it smell like when you get CK and Uncle Bill in a room? What's that smell like? CK starts cracking farts or something.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just kidding, Wes. I'm just kidding. But no, if you want to do candles, you go right ahead. But you got to get your candle making kit and stuff. You got to get your soy wax. You got to do it right.
Commission them through you, Dana.
Oh yeah. Can I be the official Dead Pit candle maker? I'll give you a good price on.
It's like Dollar Tree.
Sounds like
Chris.
Oh gosh, I don't know. I just imagine, Uncle Bill and CK in a room farting and burping, what that would, because how guys are. They have no shame.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, Candice, anything else you want to say about the stuff?
No, I love it. It's a fun film, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely one I like to go back to from time to time. So the next one I was going to bring up is Blood Harvest, starring the late great Tiny Tim.
Yeah.
Where else are you going? I know I keep saying this, but where else are you going to find Tiny Tim singing songs and not Tiptoe Through the Tulips? He's not singing that in this, but he is singing things like, and pardon me for singing this, but good night, ladies. Good night, ladies. And he's doing crazy stuff like that all through the movie. I think we can agree that Tiny Tim was an eccentric person.
Oh, definitely. I know people's got their opinions about Tiny Tim, and he may not have been the best person in the world. I don't know. But when I first seen Tiny Tim, I was little, probably 5, 6 years old, and my great grandmother would watch these, like Ed Sullivan, like these old shows. She was old, so can't remember what show it was that she was watching, but that's where I first seen him, and he was singing Tiptoe Through the Tulips and all those songs that he sang. And I was fascinated with him. And he was just, during that time in the late 80s, early 90s, Tiny Tim had a resurgence. So he was showing up on I think he was on Roseanne and just different shows like that in his older years. And I think he was on wrestling.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I found him funny, and interesting. I always liked weird people. Like, I love Liberace. Liberace is one of my favorite people. People's like, "You don't like Liberace." Like, you like Liberace.
Well, I'm sure people like Lawrence Welk.
I love Lawrence Welk show. I grew up watching that, and my mom hates it. She's like,
No,
but
I think my
weird
mom
stuff.
likes Lawrence Welk.
I like that type of cheesy type, kitschy. I call it kitschy stuff.
Yeah.
And Tiny Tim was always one of those kitschy people that I just really, was drawn to. But could you, like, going back to this film, could you imagine having him as your uncle? Being like your relative? Oh gosh. Because isn't he like their uncle or something like that in it? I've seen it a couple times, but I can't remember.
In this movie, he's actually the brother of one of the main characters. And
brother, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and he goes by the name, his name is Mervin. Or they call him I would just call the kid Marvin or something,
yeah.
But his name is Mervin or Merv, but he goes by a stage name of the Marvelous Mervo.
Mm-hmm.
And he even sings a song about himself in the movie. But this image right here, that is bizarre.
Yeah.
I kid you not. That's not just a clown. That's a Tiny Tim clown.
It is, and that's scary.
and anytime, and like, I don't know if you guys can see that there, but that's Tiny Tim there down in the bottom corner. And that's how he looks during
Yeah, he does.
most of the movie. And when Jill, the main character, comes home and she finds out her parents are missing because there's been a lot of hate for her father because her father is, I don't know if he's just a banker, a loan officer, whatever, but this is, I guess, a poor area or something. They're having to foreclose on a lot of people's farms, and they're
Mhm.
blaming it on Jill's father. So, needless to say, she's worried when she comes home from college to find that her parents aren't there. People have put graffiti all over the house. There's a dummy hanging from a noose in the doorway. And she calls the sheriff, and this is the typical small town sheriff. He all he wants to do is play cards and play baseball. He doesn't want to help anybody. So every time Jill calls him, he's like, "Can't you see I'm in the middle of a card game? Can't you see I'm getting ready to go out and play softball or whatever?" And it's like, dude, do your job. But he's like a lot of these small town sheriffs in these early to mid 80s horror films, that they were always lazy, or I'm sorry to say this, but overweight, just sitting around, not really doing anything. Very rarely do they get out and do any investigating on anything. But that's just your typical 80s cop or sheriff in these movies. Um, Wes says, "Did you know the girl that played Jill is missing? Her whereabouts are unknown. Let's call Unsolved Mysteries."
Is she
That,
really missing?
that's Tanya Salchek. I'm probably mispronouncing her
And
name.
she's really missing?
Fat, not overweight. I try to be nice, Wes. I try not to call people fat. I say heavy or overweight. I was brought up better than that. I was brought up better than to call people fat. I mean, I'll call myself fat, but I'm not going to call anybody else fat. Oh, man. Chris says, "I'm going to paste that image on the outside of Candace's glasses ring." You mean he talking about this?
Crazy.
Oh, Wes says Tiny Tim could probably crack a nasty musky bar.
They probably couldn't now.
No. Chris says Tiny Tim does a cover of Highway to Hell that's traumatizing. Holy
I play that in the car sometimes. They hate it.
TJ says Tiny Tim did the Christmas song. Santa Claus has got
Something that Rock Hudson had.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
he did do a song called that. I think I like watched something on that because I was like, what the heck? Whenever I seen that, like on YouTube, and they said that he wrote that before that was
Oh.
real well known of what it was.
Mm.
So, but it didn't age well at all.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
Oh, there's Chris. I'm going to go ahead and add Chris here. Hey, Chris.
Hey. What are you? I had to get on here. Took a late lunch. I said, listen, I got to come in here and talk about some of these films.
All right. Cool.
I've just been hearing the utmost disrespect for Peter Jackson's films. I won't stand
not
for
all
it.
his films. I love Dead Alive. No, Chris, you know I do.
Just meet the people.
I'm just playing now. Yeah, Candice, she loves Dead Alive and the Frighteners.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
You know, I know she also says she doesn't really like Lord of the Rings, but I don't think you've
I've
never
seen it. I've never really watched
You watched the first one though. You watched Fellowship of the Ring, right?
Not all the way through, just beginning of it or whatever.
I've never really given it a chance. My favorite out of that is Return of the King, but like there's a scene in the second one, Two Towers, and it's like it's a speech by Sean Astin's character Sam. And it's like one of the most like heartfelt scenes I've ever seen in any movie. But you know, I love those. I'm biased though, I think, because like I absolutely love Lord of the Rings.
I know they talk like hillbillies like we do and say taters.
Well, the hobbits do. Yeah, the hobbits are basically like the Eastern Kentuckians from Middle Earth.
Wes says Crater gets mad and walks like a bushwhacker when anyone badmouths Big Peter.
I can see him doing that.
Oh man. So Chris, since we're talking about Blood Harvest, what you got any thoughts on Blood Harvest you want to share?
Yeah, I saw it once and that was enough.
Now, Chris, you know when we want to say this, it was funny.
I just listen. Candice loves Tiny Tim, but I just have this thing where, like, I mean, he's interesting, like his personality, the character he does, and that. Because that's to me, I don't think that's just like you see him on his music, everything he's just that's a character he's created. I don't feel like that he's like the actual person every day.
I don't know. I think he was.
Well,
goodness,
He was
eccentric.
very eccentric.
yeah. When I first watched this movie though, and I think the first time I watched it was me and CJ watched it together, and I can't remember if they was showing it on the last drive-in or how we watched it exactly.
I think they did show it on the last drive.
That was probably it then,
My
because
brother had it, Chris.
no,
The time that me, you, and him watched it, he had it.
Oh, well, that might have been the second time, though, because first time I watched it was just me and him. And I think it was when we were watching Last Drive-In. And, but I was like, I looked at CJ, I said, I don't know, man, I'm not really feeling this. I said, I mean, it's interesting to see Tiny Tim play this role, because outside the role, he's already creepy to me as it is. And then you look at his music and stuff and how they factor that into the Insidious movie.
That's why it works. That's why it works for Blood Harvest for me, because he's already kind of there's something off about him. Anyway.
I want that vinyl you have, Dana.
Oh yeah.
If you look at it like because some of his songs were also featured in SpongeBob SquarePants episodes, in the early SpongeBob episodes.
Living in the Sunshine, and I think
so SpongeBob is such a weird character, and he's off from every other character on that show anyway. He's like, so it's like Tiny Tim it fits SpongeBob's personality. But yeah, like I don't have a whole lot to say about Blood Harvest other than just like I said, I don't think I plan to watch it again anytime soon.
It's fun. I like it. I thought the movie itself isn't like a great movie, but
it's a bad movie, but it's fun, it's entertaining, and like I said, where else can you see Tiny Tim dressed as a clown and he's going around singing to people? And there's the one scene where he scares Jill because he's always coming into her house or outside the house or whatever, and you're never really sure if he's going to go off and start killing people or
unsettling.
Or very unsettling. And he's got these flowers that he looked like he pulled up out of a field, and he said, "Don't you want the flowers, Jill? I picked them just for you." And he's going like that, and it's like, okay, are you going to go off her now? Are you going to start stabbing her to death or what?
Let me say this though, like, you can go based off what I said about Blood Harvest, but I will say this: it's not like the worst slasher that I've ever seen or anything. And if you look at it another way, like slashers that are like clown based killers, and this was going to be controversial, guys, but because I know there's a lot of fans of this new film series, and they're featured at a lot of conventions nowadays.
Yeah,
but I would rather watch Blood Harvest over ever watching another Terrifier movie.
Oh, if Dirk comes in here, he's going to get you because he loves those movies.
Now, my brother likes them.
I like the first.
I'm not a fan.
I like
Art
the
the Clown
first
or whatever his name is.
one, but the second one, both me and Steve, this is coming from me and Steve, that we looked at each other when that was over and we were like, that was too much. But I want to go back and watch it again. I'm just trying to give myself a little bit of time. And I'm intrigued by the third one. I'm probably going to give the third one a whirl anyway, just because I'm so intrigued by it.
You know, I'm a big gore hound when it comes. I love gore. You know, and I mean, because look at Dead Alive. Dead Alive is probably the
Yeah.
goriest film ever made, or one of them.
The blood.
But I just felt like when they were making the Terrifier movies, it's just like there was a lot of stuff they were just trying too hard to just give that shock value. And
I think
I
they
just
were.
don't enjoy movies like that when they're like putting way too much in there for just shock value. Um, I mean, there's some that I enjoy that are like that, but very very few, like the Hostel movies with Eli Roth. I mean that's one of the reasons why I
I
don't like Hostel.
No.
And you know, I don't know, I can't really think of any other off the top of my head right now, but you know what I mean.
Mm. But I dislike the Hostel movie so much, not so much for the over the top gore or anything. And I'm not meaning to sound like a prude, but there's just too, especially in the first one, there's just too much of these horny guys going around in this other country and just going to sex shows and stuff like that, or peep shows, or whatever you want to call this, naked chicks behind glass doing things. It's just not, that's not.
Well, that was a very realistic aspect to that movie, though, because it's like based out of Amsterdam. Because you know, I've seen tons of movies where people have like talked about going, "Well, I'm going to Amsterdam because that's where they got all these killer drugs there. They're all legal, and they got all these brothels. They're all over the place." And
Isn't that
I
where
think
Cheech and Chong went to? Like in one of their
yeah,
movies?
they did, and then there's a movie that probably from the early 2000s. It's a comedy called Euro Trip.
No.
And it's kind of the same, you know, logic with that one.
Hmm. And like I said, it might be some people's cup of tea, and I'm not putting it down for being realistic to the actual
Oh
area.
yeah, absolutely.
But it's just not my cup of tea to watch
Yeah,
stuff.
that's just what I'm saying too. Is because I'm not trying to discourage people because I don't. One thing I don't ever like to say is that movie sucks or that's a bad movie or
Yeah.
because you know some people can take if they've never seen the movie they can take
Yeah.
you know that impression and be like, well, maybe I shouldn't watch this, maybe it ain't really worth, but I just don't ever go based off my opinion or anybody else's opinion.
I tell people
You got to watch something. You got to develop your own opinion
Yeah.
on
If you're
something.
like me, your taste changes over the years. And
Yeah.
something that I've previously hated on, I end up liking.
Yeah. Now, I hated the Babadook when it first came out. I absolutely hated that movie. Now, I still don't like the little kid in it. He still gets on my nerves, but the Babadook's a better movie to me now.
I watched that one with Chris, didn't I, Chris?
Yeah,
Is
we
that
watched that one.
is that the one about the thing that the
Well, it's
mom?
yeah, because she's reading the story to him and everything, and like the kid has got like some kind of mental disorder or something because he's like he just there's something bad wrong with that kid, and
I thought he was just a brat.
It might be it.
yeah, that's one I did not like at all, unfortunately. I
But
figured I would, you know, knowing about it and everything, but then when I watched it, I was like, oof, no,
Now, what
not for
movie
me.
am I talking about, Dana? I mean, Chris, that we watched. It's the mom. She has the kid, and
Talking about Hereditary?
oh
no,
God,
it's
if it's
got.
that one, I absolutely hate that.
I liked Hereditary.
Oh, I can't.
Yeah,
It
I
was shocking.
liked it too. I liked
I
Hereditary.
didn't like the ending
A
very
lot,
much, but
lot of people like it, but I've watched it multiple times now, and I hate it every time I watch it. I think I hate it even more when I watch the same time. I guess it's just not my type of
Yeah.
movie.
It's
But
about the person, like it was her friend or something that she met in a mental home. And she was like doing something with her mind.
Was it? I don't know why, but immediately my mind went to The Ward, John
Do you know
Carpenter's The
what
Ward.
I'm talking about, Dana? It's a newer film.
that's why
It's about a woman and she's got a kid, and I think it's a little boy, and they live in a house, and they don't ever go out or anything like that. She can't go into the light.
shoot.
Oh,
Or they
you're
keep the
talking
light
about
on because when the dark goes on, the girl,
you're
like
talking about Lights Out.
lights out. That's what it's called.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, that's a James Wan joint.
Yes.
TJ said it.
Yeah,
like
lights out.
there.
That's a pretty good one. I mean, it's a newer film, but it's
Wes, I respect your right to like Hereditary or love Hereditary as well as I do Candace, Chris, and Dirk, and whoever all else loves Hereditary, Steve. But I don't know. I hate that family in that movie. I want somebody to come and wipe them all out. To me, they're the most annoying family I've ever seen on film. It's like, what is wrong with these people? And that the little girl that goes around, and there's probably a reason why she's doing it, making that.
yeah.
I just want to slap her upside the head and say, "Would you shut the hell up and stop doing that?" But
Well, she got set up real quick, Dana.
yeah,
So
she did.
that was shocking.
Yeah, it
I
was.
don't care
It
who
was
you are.
shocking.
That was shocking because I
But
wasn't expecting that at all.
this sounds horrible, but now that I've seen it more than once, I cheer when that happens because I'm like, yes.
Now I've never seen
I
Midsommar.
know the kid didn't really get killed or anything.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be laughing about that. Everyone but Dana likes Hereditary. It's possible, TJ. It's possible.
that girl that played her in Hereditary, she started doing conventions like a couple of years ago, but it must not been her thing or anything because like I only seen her do a few, and I've never seen her like announced as a guest for any other show since.
Yeah, maybe. I hope she didn't have a bad experience or something that kind of turned her off of them. Or
Because I think she did she was a guest at one of the Days of the Dead shows, and they did like a photo op with her and like a telephone pole or what's supposed to be in a telephone pole. It's so stupid.
Chris, that's okay that you couldn't make it. Hopefully, we can get you in on one of these other triple threat review shows. But I'm glad you're in here today. Blair says Garbage Pail Kids is criminally underrated.
I agree.
I talked about Garbage Pail Kids the other day.
Mm-hmm. And Blair was also talking about Night of the Creeps being underrated.
I like Night of the Creeps, yeah. Now, Garbage Pail Kids was one of those movies that I would rent religiously from the VHS store. But when I got older, rewatched it and didn't like it like I did as a kid. It was one of those ones.
Yeah, I think it's one that it's kind of in the moment kind of thing.
I would watch it all the time when I was a kid. I mean, every time I went, I would always get it.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that several times that I've watched movies as a kid and loved them, and then like I'll go years and years and years without watching them. And I like some I've told Candice about. I'm like, this movie's so awesome. I watched it all the time as a kid, and then we'll like sit and watch it, and I'll be like, this wasn't as great as I remembered it to be.
Yeah,
this don't hit like it used to. But I like Garbage Pail Kids. I love the cards and all the stuff like that because I grew up collecting those.
I got a whole bunch here.
I agree with Wes. The Garbage Pail Kids isn't a horror movie. I didn't know Scream Factory was saying it was a horror movie. But
they saying it's horror?
He says GPK isn't a horror movie no matter what Scream Factory says.
It's not. I mean, it's just like one of these like just goofy, gross out like kids films.
Yeah, the stuff we loved when we were kids.
That's because look, I got a bunch right here. Like here's a RL Slime. which is like R.L. Stein from Goosebumps.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of the different horror ones. Like here's a Transformed Tom, which is Tom Savini as a
Oh,
guard
that's
chucky.
really cool. I don't remember seeing those particular ones.
Those are like
And
newer.
yeah, these are newer. Well, these came out probably about 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like here's the horror host Zachary. His name's Zach Early. And here's one of my favorites, Hypodermic Herbert.
Oh, that's cool. Is he
Yeah,
going
there's just
his nose with the hypodermic there?
yeah, he does.
That's cool.
And if anybody's interested in these, you can get these actually fairly cheap off eBay. I'm pretty sure they're like these cards that I just showed. You can probably get like $1, $2 per card. I love them. I love Garfield Kids.
Yeah, I mean, I still love like the aspect of it and the different cards and stuff. There's something I was going to say and it totally went out of my head. I swear, I'm bad.
Now you can't be no worse than me. I mean, I forgot Walter's name the other day.
Well, I
talking about the
forgot
birds.
Walter's name too. We were sitting there going back and forth trying.
And I know that film backwards and forwards. And then Sandlot, I was getting ready to talk about it, and it just, I mean, getting ready to say the word, and it just like totally just slipped out of my mind. I mean, I'm getting really bad.
Yeah, me too. I've been doing a lot lately.
I can't think of anything anymore.
I was going to bring up one more, and then I'll see if Candice wants, or Chris, or whoever wants to throw one in there. But Blood Hook, which has the, what is it, the Muskie Madness fishing tournament in it. I'm serious. There is a Muskie Madness fishing tournament. And there's a girl, a woman that likes to exercise constantly. Bev D. She goes by the name Bev D. She's like, "Hi, I'm Bev D," and she's like handing out applications to enter this fishing tournament, the Muskie Madness fishing tournament, and all that. I don't know what Steve's doing.
The only thing I remember about Blood Hook is I've seen it early on when me and Chris first started dating.
You must have watched that without me because I've never seen it.
You give it to me on DVD.
Did I? Okay.
Yeah, and I took it home and watched it. And the only thing I remember is just like a fishing hook going through somebody in the water.
A fish hook goes like there is actually, you know, those stringers you can get and you put all your fish on. There is actually a scene in this where there are people floating in the water. They're dead. Their eyes look all weird. And this stringer is running through all their mouths. So you got all these people looking like zombies floating in the water. And it's obviously fake. But and you've got this punk rock guy that uses a fishing lure as an earring. I kid you not. And this guy is so goofy. But the main part of the story is this guy named Peter, when he was a kid, his grandfather went missing. And it was a weird set of circumstances. And what you see is Peter is a little boy. They had this little, I don't know what you would call it, thing where he comes down and he's in this wooden box, but he's gliding down and his grandfather is waving at him and he's on the pier or whatever and he's fishing. And as Peter gets closer to his grandfather, and there's a song playing and a record actually playing of this woman singing, and all of a sudden this loud high-pitched noise happens, and then it's like his grandfather gets jerked off the pier and into the water and he disappears. And so years later, Peter and his girlfriend and some of his buddies, including the punk rock guy that uses the fishing lure as an earring, come back to his grandfather's summer place. I'm not sure if Peter inherited it. He might have inherited it. And so they're going there to stay. And Peter's still trying to deal with his grandfather's disappearance. And it's just this whole weird thing that I think it has something to do with the cicadas. I'll just give it away. There's a killer that when he might have a metal plate in his head or something. So when he hears the cicadas, it messes with things in his brain and he goes crazy.
Sound waves.
It's like a radio frequency or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
Like
but so that's your main thing. But there's just so much wacky stuff in this. There's Bev D. She's just like, you always see her working out. She even like takes her little kid out there and puts him in a playpen or something. She's working out. She's constantly working out. And you got this crazy guy that you think is like got a bunch of guns and stuff. Now Darcy's doing that breathing thing. Come here, Darcy. Why are
I
y'all?
don't mean to interrupt y'all, but I have to go back to work, unfortunately.
I'm sorry, Chris.
Bye,
but
Chris.
Thanks for coming on, though.
Thank you all for having me on here for a little bit, and y'all enjoy the rest of your show. I'll be watching though.
Okay, don't work too hard.
I'll see you guys.
So there's not really a whole lot else I can say about Bloodhook, but just watch it if you've never seen it before. This is actually from my copies from Vinegar Syndrome.
Yeah.
And Steve was like, "Why did you get that on Blu-ray? Why? Why would you get something like Bloodhook on Blu-ray?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Just because, I like it and I enjoy
Well,
watching."
if you like it, then there you go.
And where else can you see spectacular artwork like this? You got a gigantic fishing lure and hook going into the bikini on this woman. And you don't see that woman anywhere in that. That's just, that's purely
Yeah.
artwork.
To lure people in to get it. I know Chris, I think he had the big poster of that.
Yeah, I think this was another one I saw in local rental stores, but I
Yeah.
never did rent it. So I just watched this for the first time in the last, I don't know, 5 years or so.
Yeah.
So it was pretty new to me, but it came out in 1986. So mid 80s.
Year I was born.
Oh gosh, Candice, now I feel really, really old. I was born 10 years before Candice was. Well, there you go. Me and Candice have 10 years between us, and I'll be turning 48 next month. So y'all
Well,
guys.
Chris didn't have the poster. I had the poster because somebody gave it to me. If Chris didn't give me the DVD and the poster, somebody did because I remember it.
You're right, TJ. Bloodhook, directed by Jim Mallon on Mystery Science Theater 3000. That's exactly right. But Candice, did you want to talk about another couple or so? We still got about 15 minutes left.
You're better at explaining films than I am. Unless it's something that I'm really, really into or something like that, which I like these films and not saying that I'm not into them or anything like that. But let's see. I don't think I have the thing.
Steve is not 30 years older than you, Wes.
What about Waxwork? I didn't bring a DVD or anything of it, but Waxwork is a good one. I always did like Waxwork. I mean, it's one of the. It's not, it's a film, but does it feel kind of like it's not an anthology. It's not that.
No, but it does have that feel to it, yeah.
Where, they go into the different, displays and different things are going on and stuff like that. Now, that's one that Chris really likes is Waxwork, and I had never seen it before until I got with him. And I remember watching it for the first time, and I'm like, this kind of feels like no, it's not, but it kind of feels like an anthology type film, which I liked about it. And I wasn't used to seeing, what's his name from the Gremlins? Zach Gallagher? Is that his name?
Oh, Zach Galligan?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't used to seeing him in anything else, besides Gremlins. So seeing him in something, besides that was neat. Who else is in that? Deborah Foreman.
What was Bruce Campbell in the second one?
Seems like he was in. I've never seen the second one, but it seems like I've seen something where he was in something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is
I
that the
didn't
one
think
with the red cover, like of the face?
maybe. I'm not 100% sure though. But Chris agrees it feels like an anthology.
Yeah.
Blissful says it does feel like
Yeah,
it.
it feels like it. And, it's.
Bruce is in too. Okay, thank you, TJ.
Then it's got that one guy in it. What's his name? That older guy, Warner. David Warner.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like his character in it. He's like the caretaker. Is that what you'd call him?
Yeah.
Blissful
says Deborah Foreman is in it.
Yeah, I thought so. But yeah, I love that. I love that movie. I remember watching it for the first time. I was like, this is really a cool movie. Because I just love the aspect of, the different displays and what goes on, when they step into and when they cross that rope.
Have you ever been in a wax museum? Those places are weird.
I have, and they can be creepy like that. So I really like that movie. I would like to watch the second one.
I think I've seen the second one, but it's been a long time since I've seen it.
I think Bruce Campbell is in that, Dana. Let me look it up.
Well, Chris says he is, and TJ says he is.
So. Oh, did they say? Okay.
We have not mentioned House and House 2, but that might be for a future one.
Yeah, I had that one. I had House. I didn't bring House 2. I love House 2.
Mm-hmm. And if Candice, if you want to talk about House,
we can talk about we can maybe talk about these next time if you want to. But I was just showing the copy. It's signed.
Oh, that's William Catt signed that for you, didn't he? Because wasn't his character Roger Cobb?
Yeah, William Catt. Yeah.
Cool.
So my brother loves these films. He loves the House, and I think we should talk about that maybe when we can talk about both of them, and because I think I have some stuff I can show off from House.
That would be cool.
If I can find it, I'll bring that next time and we can talk about it. But you can talk about whatever you got, Dana.
Well, I guess I can talk about another one here.
I mean, there's so many films that we could talk about, like Killer Clowns. I mean, there's so many films that we could talk about. I mean, we could do this 2 or 3 times.
We'll definitely be doing a second, third, possibly a fourth.
Yeah.
But Blood Rage, this Thanksgiving, it's not cranberry sauce, which, believe it or not, is a line. It's not cranberry sauce, Artie. It's not cranberry sauce, But this concerns, and Louise Lasser's in this sucker too. And Louise Lasser from Mary Hartman, and a bunch of other stuff. But Louise Lasser is like, she's totally out of her mind. And like when you see interviews with her, have you ever seen an interview with Louise Lasser?
I don't think so.
She just seems a little off, I guess would be the nice way to say it. But so she's got 2 twins, Terry and Todd.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but a woman her age, she's evidently a single mother. She's got twin boys. But Louise Lasser is too old to be, I'm not trying to be expressing ageism or something like that, but she clearly looks too old to be being felt up at a drive-in movie theater by a guy that looks eerily like Bruce Campbell to me.
My goodness.
So it's like, but you just gotta see this movie. So it starts out, she's almost getting it on with this guy. Her boys are in the back seat, or in the very back of a Volkswagen, or it appears to be. And she thinks they're asleep, but she keeps stopping and starting. And, it's frustrating the guy because they get going. And she says, I got to check on my boys. I got to check on my boys one more time. And it's like, why do you have your boys at this drive-in movie when you're going to be making out with this guy? But maybe she couldn't get a babysitter.
Yeah.
And so eventually her and the guy start, I mean, they don't have sex, but they're, they're kissing and carrying on and stuff like that. And the boys wake up, and one of the brothers says, Mom's at it again. So evidently Mom does this a lot.
Used to it.
And so they sneak out of the Volkswagen, and one of the brothers is a little off. Yeah. And he wants to kill people. So he finds a little hatchet and ends up axing a guy to death at the drive-in, and then blames it on his brother. So Terry actually does the killing, but Todd is the one that gets blamed for it.
He gets blamed for it, don't he?
Todd gets sent away to a mental hospital, but they call it a school. It's the oddest thing. They refer to it as a school. Your brother's escaped from the school. Well, how do you escape from the school? Why don't we just say escape from the mental hospital or escape from the hospital if you don't want to say mental hospital? Because they keep referring to Todd as Terry's crazy brother. They say that multiple times in the movie. And it takes place on Thanksgiving. So it's one of the handful of Thanksgiving horror movies.
Yeah.
And so we all know that Terry's the one that killed the person at the drive-in. And when we see the older Terry, played by Mark Soper, who does the character of Todd and the character of Terry as well, because they're twins.
Yeah.
And what else do we got here? We've got a blink and you'll miss performance by none other than Ted Raimi as a condom salesman in a drive-in bathroom. I'm not kidding. He is in there. And on this particular Blu-ray, you get 3 minutes with Ted, where they actually do a 3-minute interview.
Oh, really?
Ted Raimi. I think they must have done it at a convention or something, just like backstage or behind the scenes. They did this interview with him. And he explained that why he was in this movie was basically he had run into the back of a Detroit cop car with the cop in it and had accumulated a bunch of fines for it.
My goodness.
And he also had told his father, I'm going to try to make it in the movie business, but if I don't get a role soon, I'm going to come back home. And he said if he he would have ended up working in his dad's furniture store or something like that. And he managed to land this very small role in Blood Rage and was able to pay off some of his debt to the Detroit Police Department. I would hate to run into the back of any cop, but a Detroit officer, that would be worse. But this movie is if you watch the uncut version, this is very bloody. You got people getting their hands cut off. You got a doctor who gets cut in half. Just all kinds of craziness in here. So I would highly, highly recommend Blood Rage. If you're looking for another Thanksgiving themed horror movie that you haven't seen yet, Blood Rage will fit the bill. The first time I watched this was under the title Nightmare at Shadow Woods. And the big reason why I was watching is because I had heard Ted Raimi had a really small part in it, and I was trying to watch all things Ted Raimi at the time. Chris, Ted Raimi does have some awesome stories. I love watching
He does. Yeah. That was one of the funnest panels that we've been to, was his panel.
Chris said, my dad's house was next to his school when he was a kid, and he said he escaped from school and ran home every other day during recess. Wes says, Dana is the only one who watches those Ted Raimi interviews, I bet. No, I know I'm not. I'm not the only one that watches. Batman says, damn, just Google some 80s cheesy horror movies and they have demons listed, but the image they show is not the demons' cover art. I'm not surprised. TJ says Louise Lasser, Karen Black, Ronnie Blakely, all crazy in a good way. And Chris says Steve sold him a house poster many years ago. I didn't know that.
It's like mounted.
How much she charge you for that, Chris? Is it something you should be ashamed of now? Well, Candice, is there one more that you want to talk about before we call it a day? Or
I mean, I mentioned Killer Clowns. There's one that's
yes,
exceptionally cheesy, but I love it. And I'm loving that my son has a newfound love for it, an obsession. He loves Killer Clowns. That was one I loved growing up as well. It's just goofy, and
cotton candy guns and all that stuff. It's just great. And oh shoot, golly, forgetting that guy's name.
Oh, the old guy.
No, hold on here. I'll find it because it's gonna bother me. Grant Kramer, one of the teenagers on it.
Yeah,
with Suzanne Snyder. So Grant Kramer and Suzanne Snyder, they're like the main.
Yeah, the main two guys. But we met the Cheeto brothers whenever we, I think it was at a horror hound that we went to, and at Mass Fest, yeah. And we met them, and they were really nice. That was a fun time. But my son, like I said, he's become obsessed. We have like the shorty animatronic, and
that's cool. Chris says, Candace, there's a popcorn gun right beside you.
Oh yeah, he's got two guns actually. He's got the popcorn gun, and he's got the I don't know where it's at, but it's the smaller, like the blaster gun, the cotton candy gun or whatever it's called.
Yeah, they that one. People in the cotton candy.
Yeah. He's got all their pop figures. He's got posters, and I mean, he's got everything in the world that you can think of. But I just love it whenever he discovers things that nobody, like we never introduced it to him. He just found it on his own, and that's just it's, to me, that's amazing because it reminds me of myself, and I'm sure it reminds Chris of himself whenever he was young, discovering stuff on your own and coming into these awesome movies. And Killer Clowns is one of those films. It's fun. It's clowns. I'm not fond of clowns, but I've always loved Killer Clowns.
Yeah, there's something just so over the top about these clowns that you can't really be afraid of them.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they're using popcorn guns, cotton candy guns, all of that.
And what a way to wrap up a dead body is with cotton candy.
And also their spaceship, because they're aliens, of course.
Yeah.
Their spaceship looks like a big top.
Yeah, it's a big top circus tent. It's awesome. It's awesome. I love. And then you got the ice cream car and truck or whatever you want to call it, and just all that stuff that comes along with it. I think it's the shadow puppets.
Yeah.
I don't know. Then you got, is it Shorty that goes and he punches the guy's head off and it slams into the trash can?
Yeah, that seems right.
Because he's like riding a little tricycle. They're making fun of him and they take his trike and he gets him and knocks his head off into the trash. And yeah, great film. I like it.
I gotta go back and rewatch it again because every once in a while I like to go back and watch Killer Clowns. But there was something I was going to say and I just totally forgot about. But I had more pulled, but I can save those for another time because I mean I had a great time talking about all these movies, and I'll try to give Candace more of a heads up so she can plan a little bit better for herself.
Yeah, No bad. Don't feel bad at all. Just when I find out that we're doing another one of these, I'll really pull out some of my real good stuff and talk about. Which I enjoyed talking about all these films that we talked about today.
You did a good job, Candace. I just feel like I kind of left you in the lurch. I was like, hey, this is what we're doing.
No, I enjoyed it. I love talking about cheesy stuff. I would like to talk about cheesy like 80s films in general. Not doesn't have to be horror. It could be because there's so many comedies and stuff like that. Like I was talking about, Earth Girls Are Easy.
Oh, yeah. And you got to love Jeff Goldblum. I love Jeff
I
Goldblum.
love him in that. I think he's so handsome.
I think probably the only movie that Jeff Goldblum wasn't sexy in was probably The Fly, and there was a reason.
He is at a point until he reaches that point where he starts turning into the Fly.
Where his hair starts falling out, his teeth start falling out. What else?
It gets hard to watch. My mom, she gets sick whenever she starts.
Fingernails fall out, and then he'll fall
slime.
Off. He vomits on his food.
Yes, that.
This is how Brenda Fly eats. I'll never forget that.
Isn't he so creepy though? Whenever he starts doing that, just the way he talks and
just like when Michael Keaton was talking about Jeff Goldblum and The Fly and how he was touching things.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find my sheet of paper where I'd written down ideas for shows, and I just don't know what I did with it. See, this is what happens, folks, when you got too many pieces of paper floating around. Oh well, I'm sure I'll find it. I've got work notes and all kinds of other stuff here, but
I'm up for anything next time. Whatever you want to do. If you want to continue this, if you want to go to the 90s, or just whatever you want to do, I don't care.
How about, Wes, you can't stand Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum is awesome.
Yes. What's wrong with you? Like, have you talking about him being sexy? What about on 9 Months? Like a lot of people would talk about, what's his face? The main guy in 9 Months.
In 9 Months? Is it like a comedy?
Yeah. It's got Julianne Moore. Shoot. Tom Arnold's in it. Joan Cusack.
I think I've seen that one. Let me see.
It's a fun one. I like it. Hugh Grant. Yeah. I like Jeff Goldblum better than I do Hugh Grant in that movie.
I don't like Hugh Grant. If you do, that's fine. I just never.
This was directed by Chris Columbus as well. So that one's from 95.
Now, Chris Columbus, he did like Home Alone, stuff like that, didn't he?
Yeah. Yeah. Had a close connection with John Hughes. You're not a fan of Jurassic Park either. Goldblum is not shitty, Wes.
Sam Neill.
Well, I know how he feels about Sam Neill.
I like Sam Neill in Jurassic Park. I can't think of anything. No, he's in something. Isn't he in a horror film?
He's in shoot. I know.
See what he's in.
My brain is just gone.
I'm the same way, Dana. I mean, what's he in? Possession.
He was in Possession, but
that ain't what I'm.
He was in Event Horizon, but that's not the one I'm thinking of.
The Mouth of Madness. That's the one I'm thinking of.
Mouth of Madness.
Yeah.
That's the one I was trying to think of. I really like that one.
Yeah. And Omen 3, he's in that.
Omen 3, yeah. And I don't know if I said hi to Bookhouse Boy, but I wanted to say hello to him before we get off here. I don't know if Wes is cranky or it's just Wes being Wes. I think it's Wes just being Wes. Sometimes I think he likes to hate on stuff that the rest of us like.
Well, somebody's got to hate somebody. So
yeah,
if somebody's got to hate with Jeff Goldblum, I guess it's Wes. That's okay.
Oh. But anyway, it is now 3:05, and I've drank this entire lemonade from McAllister's, and after being on here for a couple hours, this girl's got to go to the restroom. Before I do, Terror Time Tea, which will be at 3:30 today, instead of doing it in the morning. I guess this is going to be more of a high tea.
Yeah.
Today. And hopefully I can go back to the regularly scheduled program next week. But today didn't go as I thought it was going. I thought that it was going to be more relaxed and laid back and all
it
that.
It never goes the way that you planned it.
Never, ever, ever does. That's why I need to quit just randomly saying, "Hey, I'm going to take off on Friday. That'll be cool."
Yeah.
No. But Candice, is there anything you want to bring up? And good Lord. My exit strategy is, hey guys, I got pissed. LOL, love you, dang.
You need a shirt with that.
Oh, man.
Just put a big like Mountain Dew can on it or something with your face. And just say, hey guys, I'm pissed on it.
No, I'm not going to delay it again. I will be doing it at 3:30. I've got my crumpets all ready to go. All I got to do is brew my tea. And
crumpets sound good.
Yeah, I think I'm going to, I had watermelon tea the other night. I think I'm going to have some more honeysuckle tea when I do the stream here in a little bit.
No, Diana, there's not really anything else I want to talk about. I mean, I've had a good time.
Me too. I had loads of fun on this.
Really good time. Next time I will be more prepared and know, what I want to talk about, more. I also want to say, and I'm sure you don't care, Dana, I know because you were on it. We put the Video Dead episode that you did with us up on our Death by Stereo podcast page. So Diana joined us with a Tom Petty, a look at the Tom Petty video, Mary Jane's Last Dance. And I was really appreciative of her coming over there. I think we had a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was fun having her on. So if you want to check that out, that's up on the page now. And then I think at 4:00, our Munster series that me and Chris are doing is going to be debuting. So if you want to check that out, you can too. But I see here that Bookhouse Boy says, "What is your favorite movie of all time?" Beetlejuice. It's always been
that's what I was thinking.
Ever since I can remember watching movies, Beetlejuice has been my favorite. So I've always been obsessed with it. So Beetlejuice is my favorite film of all time. So is like Michael Keaton's my favorite actor too.
I love Michael Keaton as well. Hi T, Blissful, you say I need to wear a tiara. Well, I would wear a tiara if I had one, but I don't. I need to get one from. I'm gonna make a little joke here. I need to get one from Elton John. He did that. Didn't he do a tiaras and tantrums, or tantrums and tiaras?
Yeah. And thank you, Blissful, for sharing the page,
yes.
The Death by Podcast, the Death by Stereo podcast page.
Yes, Houseboy, my favorite movie is Evil Dead.
Yeah.
That's probably
Evil Dead's one of my favorite too. Well, Evil Dead 2. I love Evil Dead 2.
But Blissful, you say you got a few orders for me? Like, are we talking like candle orders or something? She's been talking me up to people, so I'm gonna have to get in gear. Well, the jacket is still in the process of being finished. I've got to get the back patch sewn on it, and I still have my hat, Wes, but I just haven't. I need to go back to wearing it. I know it was part of my brand there for a while. Candles, all right, awesome. I'll have to get together with you on that. But the coat will be making its emergence as soon as I can finish sewing that patch on the back of it. It looks like a school letterman's jacket, and I've decorated it with all kinds of horror related stuff. Yes, The Evil Dead, not to be confused with the 2013 remake. Don't let Dirk hear you say that, Batman, because he swears up and down that's not a remake. But anyway, I guess me and Candice will skedaddle on out of here for now. And be sure to tune in a few more minutes for the Terror Time Tea. I'm going to be talking about He Knows You're Alone and Hell Night and having some tea and crumpets. And that was due to you mentioning crumpets, Batman. I think the first Terror Time Tea I did, he mentioned that. Thank you, Blissful. Blissful says great live.
Thank you.
Yes, large patches do, and we're talking about like a 10-inch by 10-inch patch on the back of
They
it.
do. I've sewed them on for my brother before. They do take a long time to sew on.
But I just want to remind everybody to be kind to one another and blaze that trail. Although, please don't blaze it with candles and fire and stuff like that, or we might all be in trouble. But blaze that trail. And Candice, thank you again for being on here with me for another Friday Foolish. And I want to thank everybody in the chat for being on here with us. We had a good crowd today.
Next time, we'll hope to have some more people on. You know, you're always welcome. I'm sure Dana will, reiterate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Anybody that wants to come on, talk about this stuff with us, that just helps us out. It gives us something to talk about.
Yeah, we'll make you feel comfortable. We've had the mayor on. We've had Super Batman Nerd on.
Yep.
Chris comes on quite frequently on these. And so we'll make you feel right at home. You don't have to feel uncomfortable. Blissful, I'm looking at you. You still need to come on here. I'm never going to let that go. She's going to be like, oh. And remember, if we can get me up to 1,000 subscribers, I will do a Cheryl cosplay from Evil Dead. Candice will do Mrs. Roper, and we want to get Chris to do Mr. Roper.
Could you imagine him trying to dress up like him?
And then what was it? Your father-in-law is Mr. Farley.
Yeah, that's what Chris.
We could get him to do that.
Oh my gosh, he would make a good Mr. Furley. He'd make a good Don Knotts.
You say, Blissful, you say soon, promise. Okay, I'm holding you to that. Candice comes on here with us. She comes on here with me every Friday now, and then sometimes in between Monday and Friday. She comes. Yeah, you could bring your pirate on. Bring your pirate on. And everybody might not know what that's referring to, but I know Blissful knows what that's referring to. But yeah, bring your pirate. I want to see this pirate. I've been hearing a lot about him, so I want to see him. But anyway, if I'm going to have time to brew my tea, we better get off here. And so we'll see everybody next time. Have a great rest of your Friday, guys and gals.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody.